Hello everyone, welcome to Let's Crack UPSC CSE English in our crash course targeted for Prelims 2021 Inspire. In today's session, we'll see new topic Central Council of Ministers. It's my pleasure to welcome you all on Unacademy, India's largest learning platform where you will get daily live classes, structured courses, unlimited access for live and recorded classes along with mock tests. So you can evaluate yourself during the preparation. Yes, we 100 plus top educators will guide you throughout the journey. It's me, Rushikesh Inamdar, guiding UPSC aspirants from last 8 years. You can follow me on Unacademy and you can join our Telegram group using this channel. You can join our Telegram channel or group using this link. Yes, friends, those aspirants are looking for any particular module or course. We have 15,000 plus courses available for the UPSC CSE. So hurry up, browse your course and start your preparation. Yes, we have paid subscriptions as well, like Plus and Iconic subscription. You can opt as per your choice, where you will get 10% discount using a referral code RBI Live. So do not forget to use referral code RBI Live. Yes, I hope everyone is aware about UPSC's notification for the preliminary examination 2021. Yes, exam date is 27th June and last date to apply for this examination is 24th March. Yes, 24th March till 6 p.m. So those aspirants are waiting for guidelines or any guidance. You can watch our Unacademy videos and fill up your form. And also you can visit to apply for this on UPSC's website upsconline.nic.in. Our top educators also guide you about the notification. So submit your form and boost up your preparation. Countdown has been already started. Yes guys, this is our new batch targeted for the prelims 2021. So you can join this batch as well. Yes. Along with that, we are providing free test series for all aspirants. Yes, test series includes current affairs and complete general studies. So you can unlock this test using a referral code, a code RBI Live. So those aspirants wants to opt the test series, they can go with the Unacademy's free test series. Yes, friends. And here is the announcement for Unacademy Combat, which is scheduled on 14th March in the morning 11 o'clock. You can enroll yourself using code RBI Live. So hurry up and enroll yourself for Unacademy Combat as well. Yes, these are the subscription combo available with our Unacademy platform for 1 year, 2 year and 3 year courses. Yes, these are the subscriptions available. And again, you can use code RBI Live to get 10% discount on your subscription. So friends, we'll start today's session with Central Council of Ministers. I hope everyone is aware about Council of Ministers. Yes, now in today's lecture and next lecture will complete Central Council of Ministers with all aspects. Yes, friends. So, we'll start with the constitutional connection for the Union Council of Ministers. Yes, friends. Article 74 of Indian Constitution deals with the status and nature of the Council of Ministers. Yes. And Article 75 deals with the appointment, tenure, responsibility, qualification, oath and salaries and allowances of the ministers. Yes, friends. So Article 75 is deals with the appointment, tenure, responsibility, qualification, oath and salaries and allowances of the ministers. Yes, so Article 74 and 75 deals with the Union Council of Ministers. Yes, so these articles spanning from 74 to 78 in part 5th of Indian Constitution broadly deals with the Central Council of Ministers. Along with 74 and 75, there are few more articles. So we can say Article 74 to 78 mentioned in the part 5th of the Indian Constitution deals with the Central Council of Ministers. Yes. So here just understand what is meant by union executive. Yes, the union executive consists of president, vice president, prime minister, union council of ministers and attorney general of India. Yes, in today's lecture we'll see the union council of ministers, which is the part of union executive. Yes, friends. Now we'll see the background. Yes, so the portfolio system, initially portfolio system was started by Lord Canning in Indian Council Acts 1861. Yes, historical pinnings for the Council of Ministers. Yes, so the portfolio system was started by Lord Canning in Indian Councils Act 1861. Yes, so the United Kingdom, the Council of Ministers is the real executive which is left on the convention. Yes, which is left on the convention. So if we'll see in the context of United Kingdom, Council of Ministers is the real executive, and in our country, in India's context, the system of Council of Ministers is codified and mentioned in the Indian Constitution. Yes, so the Constitution of India provides a parliamentary system of government and which is modeled by the British pattern, and the Council of Ministers headed by the Prime Minister is the real executive authority, is our polity administrative system. Yes, we have a parliamentary system of government and which is modeled on the British pattern itself, and the Council of Ministers headed by the Prime Minister is the real executive authority. Yes, that is de facto real executive authority. Council of Ministers headed by Prime Minister. Yes. Now we'll see the principles of the parliamentary system of government are not provided in detail in the Constitution, but two articles, that is Article 74 and 75 in Part 5, deal with them in a broad, sketchy and general manner. Yes. So if we are talking about principle of the parliamentary system of government are not provided in detail in our constitution, but Article 74 and 75 deal with them in a broad and general manner. Yes, so every minister is responsible for the acts of the officers of his department, and he has to answer questions regarding the affair of his department in the parliament. Yes, every minister in the council of ministers is responsible for the acts of the officers of his department, and he has to answer questions regarding the affair of his department in the parliament. Yes, then council of ministers rarely meets, so the driving wheel of the governments is the cabinet. Yes, so every minister is responsible for the act of the officers of his department, and the minister has to answer questions regarding the affair of his department in the parliament. Yes. So now we'll see the Article 74 to 78 under Part 5th of the Indian Constitution. Yes. So these articles deals with Central Council of Minister. Yes. Article 74 is deals with the Council of Ministers to aid and advise President. Article 75 other provisions as to ministers. Article 77 deals with the conduct of business of the Government of India. Article 78 deals with the duties of the Prime Minister as respect the furnishing of information to the President. And Article 88 deals with the rights of ministers with respect to the President. Yes. So, Article 88 deals with the rights of ministers. So, these are the articles deals with the Central Council of Ministers. Now, in detail, we'll see Article 74. Yes, Council of Ministers to aid and advise President. Yes, Article 74 of our Constitution describes Council of Ministers to aid and advise. Yes, friends, this is the understanding of the article and the role of Council of Ministers. They to aid and advise President. So there shall be a Council of Ministers with the Prime Minister at the head, which aid and advise the President, who shall exercise his functions and act in accordance with such advice. Yes, Council of Ministers are providing advice to the President on various matters. So, yes, so the Council of Ministers providing aid and advice to the President, and the President can exercise his functions accordance with the advice provided by Council of Ministers and Prime Minister. Yes, so Prime Minister is the head of the Council of Ministers. Now, after that, however, the President may require the Council of Ministers to reconsider such advice, and the President shall act in accordance with the advice tendered after such reconsideration. In case of few matters, if President thinks that it may require, that particular matter may require to reconsider by the Council of Ministers, then the President, yes, he will advise to the Council of Ministers to reconsider the matter. This option was added by the 44th Constitutional Amendment in 1978. And after that, after the reconsideration of that matter, President shall act in accordance with that. Yes. Then, the advice tendered by ministers to the President shall not be inquired into any court of India. Yes, the advice tendered by ministers to the President shall not be inquired or challenged into any court of India. Yes, just remember that. The advice tendered by ministers or Council of Ministers to the President shall not be inquired into any court of India. Yes. Now, after Article 74, we'll see Article 75. Yes, which describes other provisions as to ministers. So, the Prime Minister shall be appointed by the President, and the other ministers shall be appointed by the President on the advice of the Prime Minister. Yes, so the Prime Minister shall be appointed by the President, and other ministers shall be appointed by the President on the advice and consultation of the Prime Minister. Yes. Now, the Council of Ministers shall be collectively responsible to the Lok Sabha. Yes, remember Article 75, where it's mentioned that the Council of Ministers shall be collectively responsible to the Lok Sabha and not to the Rajya Sabha. Yes, so the Council of Ministers shall be collectively responsible to the Lok Sabha. Yes, then collective responsibility relies on the notion of solidarity. Solidarity, which means a single vote of no confidence against a minister can lead to the resignation of the entire council. Hence, the support of the majority is must for the council. Yes, notion of solidarity. Yes, solidarity, which means a single vote of no confidence against a minister can lead to the resignation of the entire council. Hence, the support of the majority is a must for the council. So, this is the collective responsibility relies on the notion of solidarity. Yes. Then Article 75 again mentioned the provisions like a minister who is not a member of parliament for period of 6 consecutive months shall cease to be a minister. Yes, a minister who is not a member of the parliament, that is Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha, for any period of 6 consecutive months shall be ceased to be a minister. So the minister shall hold office during the pleasure of the president. Yes. Now a minister who is not a member of the parliament for any period of 6 consecutive months shall cease to be a minister, which means, for example, a person appointed as a minister in the council, then within 6 months he should be the member of or appointed as the member for the Rajya Sabha or Lok Sabha. Yes, within 6 months he should elect either of the house of the parliament so he can continue his duties as a minister. Otherwise, he shall cease to be a minister. Then, the minister shall hold office during the pleasure of the president. This is the conditional provision. Yes. In S.R. Chauhan versus, now we'll see the case where in S.R. Chauhan versus State of Punjab 2001, where Supreme Court held that a non-member cannot be reappointed without being elected. However, a non-member can also become a part of Council of Ministers for maximum of 6 months. Yes, in relation with this provision, the Supreme Court stated that a non-member, yes, a non-member of House cannot be reappointed without being elected. However, a non-member can also become a part of Council of Ministers for maximum of 6 months. Yes, the period is also mentioned in this judgment. Now after that, we'll see Article 77. Yes, conduct of business of the Government of India. Yes, all executive actions of the Government of India shall be expressed to be taken in the name of the President. Yes, all executive actions of the Government of India shall be expressed to be taken in the name of the President. Yes, orders and other instruments made and executed in the name of the President and shall be authenticated in such manner as may be specified in rules to be made by the President. Yes. Now, moreover, the validity of an order or instrument which is so authenticated shall not be called in question on the ground that it is not an order or instrument made or executed by the President. Yes. So, the President shall make rules for the more convenient transaction of the business of the government of India and for the allocating among ministers of the said business. So, the President shall make rules for the more convenient transaction of the business of the government of India. Yes. After that, we'll see Article 78. Yes, the duties of Prime Minister. So, the already we have covered in our previous sessions. Here, we'll just take a recap. So, to communicate to the President all decisions of the Council of Ministers is the duty of Prime Minister. Yes, so these decisions relating to the administration of the affairs of the Union and proposals for legislation. Yes, then to furnish such information relating to the administration of the affairs of the Union and proposals for legislation as the President may call for. So, the duties of the Prime Minister mentioned in the Article 78, who is the head of the Council of Ministers. Yes, if the President requires so to submit for the consideration of the Council of Ministers any matter on which a decision has been taken by a minister but which has not been considered by the Council. Yes. So, these are the provisions under Article 78. Then we'll see Article 88, rights of ministers as a respect with the houses. Yes, that is with the Parliament. So every minister shall have the right to speak and take part in the proceedings of either house and joint sitting of the houses. Yes, and any committee of Parliament of which he may be named a member, but he shall not be entitled to vote. Yes, every minister shall have right to speak and take part in the proceeding of Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha, and also any joint sitting of the houses. Yes, and right to speak and take part in any committee of Parliament of which he may be named as a member of that committee. Yes. So, and the minister shall not be entitled to vote in that committee. Yes. So, every minister shall have the right to speak and take part in the proceedings of either house and joint sitting of the houses. Yes, this is the rights of ministers as respect to the houses. Yes, after that we'll see 91, 91st, yes, 91 Constitutional Amendment Act. 91 Constitutional Amendment Act 2003. Yes, the total number of ministers inclusive of the Prime Minister, the Council of Ministers shall not exceed the total number of ministers inclusive of the Prime Minister in the Council of Ministers shall not exceed 15% of the total strength of the Lok Sabha. Yes. So this is the Constitutional Amendment Act 2003 stated that the number of ministers shall not exceed 15% of the total strength of the Lok Sabha, which inclusive Prime Minister as well. Yes, in that Council of Ministers, Prime Minister is also inclusive and the total number of ministers shall not exceed 15% of the total strength of the Lok Sabha. Yes, then a member of either House of Parliament belonging to any political party, a member of either House of Parliament belonging to any political party who is disqualified on the ground of defection shall also be disqualified to be appointed as a minister. Yes, a member of Rajya Sabha or Lok Sabha or the person or that member belonging to any political party who is disqualified on the ground of defection shall also be disqualified to be appointed as a minister. Yes, this is the 91 constitutional amendment. Yes. Yes. So we have covered like background of Council of Ministers. So basically Article 74 to 78 deals with the Central Council of Ministers, where we have covered the components of Union Executive, where Union Council of Ministers is the important part of Union Executive. Then we have covered background. Yes, portfolio system was started by Lord Canning in India, or by this portfolio system was started by Lord Canning in Indian Councils Act 1861. Yes, in India, the system of Council of Ministers is codified and mentioned in the Indian Constitution. Yes. So every minister is responsible for the acts of the offices of his department, and he has to answer questions regarding the affair of his department in the parliament. Council of Ministers rarely meets, so the driving wheel of the government is the cabinet. Then Article 74, 75, 77, 78, and 88 under Part 5th of Indian Constitution deals with the Central Council of Ministers. Yes, Article 74, where we have discussed Council of Ministers to aid and advise President. Article 75 deals with the other provisions as to ministers. Yes. So where a minister who is not a member of either House of Parliament for any period of 6 consecutive months shall cease to be a minister. Then we have covered Article 77 deals with the conduct of business of the government of India. Yes. Then Article 78 duties of Prime Minister. Then Article 88 rights of ministers as respect to the houses. Yes, as respect to the parliament, rights of ministers. Then we have covered 91st Constitutional Amendment Act, 91 Constitutional Amendment Act 2003, where it mentioned that the total number of ministers shall not exceed 15% of the total strength of the Lok Sabha. Yes. Then a member of either House of Parliament belonging to any political party who is disqualified on the grounds of defection shall also be disqualified to be appointed as a minister. Yes, now we'll see, is advised by COM, Council of Ministers, binding? Yes, we'll see this question. So the 42nd and 44th constitutional amendment in 1976 and 1978 respectively, these constitutional amendment acts have made the advice binding on the president. Yes. So the constitutional amendment act, that is 42nd and 44th, acts, these acts have made the advice binding on the president. Yes, the advice by Council of Ministers is binding on the president. Yes, in 1971, the Supreme Court held that even after the dissolution of the Lok Sabha, the Council of Ministers does not cease to hold office. Yes, in 1971, the Apex Court stated that even after the dissolution of the Lok Sabha, the Council of Ministers does not cease to hold office. Yes. So the 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act 1976 is that the President shall, in the exercise of his functions, act in accordance with the advice rendered by the Council of Ministers. Yes. And 44th Constitutional Amendment Act 1978 added a provision to the effect that the President may require the Council of Ministers to reconsider such advice, and the President shall act in accordance with the advice tendered after such reconsideration. Yes, 44th Constitutional Amendment Act 1978, which added a provision to the effect that the President may require the Council of Ministers to reconsider such advice, and the President shall act in accordance with the advice tendered after such reconsideration. Yes, the nature of advice tendered by ministers to the President cannot be inquired by any court. Yes. So the nature of advice tendered by the ministers to the President cannot be inquired by any court. Yes, then the provision emphasizes the intimate and the confidential relationship between the President and the ministers. Yes, so this provision emphasizes the intimate and the confidential relationship between the President and the ministers. Now, after that, we'll see nature of advice by ministers. Yes, it should be noted that Article 74 is mandatory, and in case the President cannot exercise the executive power without the aid and advice of the Council of Ministers, and any exercise of executive power without the aid and advice will be unconstitutional as being violative of Article 74. Yes, so any exercise of executive power by the President without the aid and advice of the Council of Ministers will be unconstitutional, which stated as the being violative of Article 74. Yes. In 1974, the court held that wherever the Constitution requires the satisfaction of the President, the satisfaction is not the personal satisfaction of the President, but it is the satisfaction of the Council of Ministers, and with whose aid and on whose advice the President exercises his powers and functions. Yes, the Indian courts are barred from inquiring into the nature of advice rendered by the ministers to the President. Yes, Indian courts are barred from inquiring into the nature of advice rendered by the ministers to the President. Yes. So, this is the nature of advice by ministers. Yes. So, the Constitutional Amendment Act 42 and 44th have made the advice binding on the President, and where in 1971 the Supreme Court held that even after the dissolution of the Lok Sabha, the Council of Ministers does not cease to hold office. Yes. Then 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act 1976, the President shall, in the exercise of his functions, act in accordance with the advice rendered by the Council of Ministers. Yes. And then 44th Constitutional Amendment Act of 1978 added a provision to the effect that the President may require the Council of Ministers to reconsider such advice. Yes. So, the nature of advice rendered by the minister to the President cannot be inquired by any court, and this provision emphasizes the intimate and the confidential relationship between the president and the ministers. Yes, then we have covered nature of advice by ministers. So here it should be noted that Article 74 is mandatory, and in any case the president cannot exercise the executive power without the aid and the advice of the Council of Ministers. Yes, so any exercise of executive power without without the aid and advice of the Council of Ministers will be unconstitutional as being violative of Article 74. Yes, and the Indian courts are barred from inquiring into the nature of advice rendered by the ministers to the president. Yes. Now, we'll see the questions asked in the examination in earlier, that is in 2015. There is a parliamentary system of government in because the option A. Now remember friends, when we are solving the question papers for preliminary examination, that is multiple choice question. Now always keep remember that we have to read question thoroughly and then choose the correct answer. Now we'll see this question. For example, there is a parliamentary system of government in India because the Lok Sabha is elected directly by the people. Option B, Parliament can amend the constitution. Option C, Rajya Sabha cannot be dissolved. And option D, Council of Ministers is responsible to the Lok Sabha. Yes, here just remember what we have studied today. There is a parliamentary system of government in because yes. Now remember the Article 75 where we have discussed the Council of Ministers shall be collectively responsible to the Lok Sabha. Yes. So with the reference with the Article 75, we can solve this question. So there is a parliamentary system of government in India because the Council of Ministers is responsible to the Lok Sabha. Yes, this is the correct answer. Yes, there is a parliamentary system of government in because the Council of Ministers is responsible to the Lok Sabha. Yes, with reference to the Article 75. Now, we'll see the next question. Yes. Now, in this question, assertion. Yes, the Council of Ministers in the Union of India is collectively responsible both to the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. And second, that is reason the members of both the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha are eligible to be the Minister of the Union Government. Choose the correct code. Both A and R are true and R is the correct explanation of A. Option B, both A and R are true, but R is not correct explanation of A. Option C, A is true, but R is false. Option D, A is false, but R is true. Now, just recall what we have studied. The Council of Ministers in the Union of India is collectively responsible both to Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. Yes, tell me, is it correct? Is it true or false? Yes. So this statement is false because the Council of Ministers in the Union of India is collectively responsible to the Lok Sabha only, not Rajya Sabha. And this statement or assertion is mentioned that they are responsible to both. So this is the wrong statement, which is a false statement we can say. Need to be correct as the Council of Ministers in Union of India is collectively responsible to the Lok Sabha only. And next reason is now next reason given in the question is the member of the both Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha are eligible to the Minister of the Union of Government. Yes, this is the correct one. So this reason is correct, which means A is false, but R is true. So again, D is the correct answer. Yes. So A is false and R is true. The members of both the Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha are eligible to be the Minister of the Union Government. Yes, the question was asked in 2007. Yes, so these type of questions asked in the examination. So just read thoroughly and definitely will cover in our Inspire crash course the practice of MCQ and important questions as well. Yes, friends. Now, after that, we'll see our Council of Ministers. Yes, in the Union Government. So, in the next lecture, we'll see the other functions, importance, oath, salaries, and all these information related with the Council of Ministers. Now we'll see our Council of Ministers, which is headed by Prime Minister. Yes, our Prime Minister. Now we'll see the current Council of Ministers, Sri Narendra Modi, Prime Minister, and also having charges like charge of various departments like Ministry of Personal Public Grievances and Pensions, Department of Atomic Energy, Department of Space, and all important policy issues and all other portfolios not allocated to any minister. Yes, then we have our cabinet ministers. Sri Rajnath Singh, Ministry of Defense. Yes, Defense Minister. Then Sri Amit Shah, Ministry of Home Affairs, which is Home Minister. Then we have Sri Nitin Jairam Gadkari, who holds the Ministry of Road Transport and Highways and Ministry of Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises. Then Sri D.V. Sadananda Gowda, Ministry of Chemicals and Fertilizers. Then Srimati Nirmala Sitaraman, who holds the office like Ministry of Finance and Ministry of Corporate Affairs. Then in cabinet ministers, we have Sri Narendra Singh Tomar, who is holding the charge Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare, Ministry of Rural Development, Ministry of Panchayati Raj, Ministry of Food Processing Industries. Yes. Then we have cabinet minister Sri Ravi Shankar Prasad, holding ministries like Ministry of Law and Justice, Ministry of Communications, Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology. Yes. Then we have Sri Thawarchand Gehlot, who holds the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment. Then we have Dr. Subramaniam Jaishankar, who is head of the Ministry of External Affairs. Sri Ramesh Pokhriyal Nishank, who is the head of the Ministry of Education. Sri Arjun Munda, Ministry of Tribal Affairs. Yes, Cabinet Minister of Ministry of Tribal Affairs. Then Srimati Smriti Zubin Irani, Ministry of Women and Child Development and Ministry of Textiles. Then Dr. Harshvardhan, Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, Ministry of Science and Technology and Ministry of Earth Sciences. Then we have Sri Prakash Javadekar, hold ministries like Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change, Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, and Ministry of Heavy Industries and Public Enterprises. Then Sri Piyush Goyal, who holds the Ministry of Railways, Ministry of Commerce and Industry, Ministry of Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution. Then we have Sri Dharmendra Pradhan, Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas and Ministry of Steel. Then Sri Mukhtar Abbas Naqvi. Yes, Sri Mukhtar Abbas Naqvi is the Cabinet Minister and holding the Ministry of Minority Affairs. And then we have Sri Prahlad Joshi, Ministry of Parliamentary Affairs, Ministry of Coal, Ministry of Mines. Yes. Then we have Dr. Mahendranath Pandey, is also Cabinet Minister, who is handling Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship. Then Shri Girija Singh, Ministry of Animal Husbandry, Dairy and Fisheries. Then Shri Gajendra Singh Shekhawat, Ministry of Jal Shakti. Yes, these are the cabinet ministers in our Council of Ministers. Then these are the Minister of State with independent charge. Sri Santosh Kumar Gangwar, Ministry of Labour and Empowerment. Then Sri Rao Inderjit Singh, Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation and Ministry of Planning. Then Sri Shripad Eso Naik, Ministry of Ayurveda, Yoga and Naturotherapy, Unani, Siddha and Homeopathy, which is Ayush. Yes, he is the heading Ministry of Ayush. Then Dr. Jitendra Singh is holding the independent charge for the Ministry of Development of Northeastern Region. Then Shri Kiran Rijiju handling the independent charge of the Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports. Then Shri Prahlad Singh Patel, which holds the Ministry of Culture and Ministry of Tourism. Then Shri Rajkumar Singh is holding the Ministry of Power and Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, independent charge. Then Shri Hardeep Singh Puri, Minister of State with independent charge of Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs and Ministry of Civil Aviation. Then Shri Mansukh L. Mandaviya, who is holding the Ministry of Shipping. Yes, these are the Ministers of State with independent charge. Then we have Minister of State. Yes, Shri Sripad Eso Naik as Minister of State for the Ministry of Defense. Then Dr. Jitendra Singh is the Minister of State for the Prime Minister's Office, Ministry of Personal Public Grievances and Pensions, Department of Atomic Energy and Department of Space. Then we have Minister of State charge of Ministry of Minority Affairs with Sri Kiran Rijiju. Then Sri Rajkumar Singh is holding the Minister of State for the Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship. Then Minister of State Shri Hardeep Singh Puri holding the Ministry of Commerce and Industry. Then Shri Mansukh L. Mandaviya holding the Ministry of Chemicals and Fertilizers as a Minister of State. Then Shri Fakkan Singh Kuleste, he is the Minister of State for the Ministry of Steel. Then Shri Ashwini Kumar Chaube, who is the Minister of State for the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. Then Shri Arjun Ram Meghwal is the Minister of State for the Ministry of Parliamentary Affairs, Ministry of Heavy Industries and Public Enterprises. Then we have Minister of State General Retired V.K. Singh for the Ministry of Road Transport and Highways. Then we have Minister of State Sri Krishan Pal for the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment, and Sri Danve Rao Sahib Dada Rao, he is Minister of State for the Ministry of Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution. Then we have Minister of State for the Ministry of Home Affairs is Shri G. Kishan Reddy. Then we have Minister of State Shri Parshottam Rupala, Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare. Then Shri Ramdas Athavale, who is charged or Minister of State for the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment. Then Sadhvi Niranjan Jyoti is holding charge of the Minister of State for Ministry of Rural Development. Then Shri Babul Supriyo, who is holding charge as a Minister of State for the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. Then Shri Sanjeev Kumar Balyan, who is holding the Ministry of Animal Husbandry, Dairy and Fisheries as a Minister of State. Then Shri Dhotre Sanjay Shamrao, he is holding the Ministry as Minister of State like Ministry of Education, Ministry of Communication, Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology. Then Shri Anurag Singh Thakur, who is holding the Ministry of Finance and Ministry of Corporate Affairs as a Minister of State. Then Shri Nityananda Rai, holding the Ministry of Home Affairs as a Minister of State. Then Shri Ratan Lal Kataria, holding Ministry of Jal Shakti, Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment as a Minister of State. Then Shri V. Muralidharan, who is holding Ministry of External Affairs and Ministry of Parliament Affairs as a Minister of State. Then we have Srimati Renuka Singh Saruta, holding the Ministry of Tribal Affairs. Yes. Then Minister of State for the Ministry of Commerce and Industry is Sri Som Prakash. Sri Rameshwar Teli is for the Ministry of Food Processing Industries. Then Sri Pratap Chandra Sarangi, who holds the Ministry of Micro, Small, Medium Enterprises and Ministry of Animal Husbandry, Dairying and Fisheries. Then Sri Kailash Chaudhary, who is holding the charge of Minister of State for the Ministry of Agriculture and Farmers Welfare. And Sushri Debasri Chaudhary, holding the Ministry of Women and Child Development as a Minister of State. So friends, this is the general information regarding our Council of Ministers. Now in the next lecture, we'll see oath, salary and allowances and few more information related with our Council of Ministers. So till the next time, you can revise what we have studied in today's lecture. Yes, you can join our Telegram group using this link and do not forget to use code RBI Live to get 10% discount. Yes, like, share and subscribe our Unacademy's videos. Yes friends. And do not forget to enroll yourself for the Unacademy combat. So till the next lecture, keep revising, keep studying. All the best. Take care. Thank you.